What's going on, Crystal Palace fans? It's another edition of Palace News. We got a couple things to talk with you about, get your opinions on, interact with you about. But before we get started, to all of those that are there that are watching, we apologize for getting on a little bit late. It has some technical difficulties, but we got everything set. We're good to go. Another thing, if you're tuning in, if you're not connected with us, make sure that you subscribe for more content to help out the channel. And make sure you also like and comment, of course. We want to be able to interact with you all throughout the show. I think for those of you that have questions as we're going along, make sure you put a Q and so that we can easily see it and pick out your questions and things. All right. It's a couple topics we're going to chat about today, but of course, my name is T. One of your back in the next contributors, and I'm joined by my man AJ today. AJ, what's going on, man?
No, not much, man. I'm doing the opposite this summer. I'm doing a lot of work, so I'm very, very busy constantly. But I'm out here, man. I'm just getting ready for next season, stacking up some Europa League money. When nice.
There you go, man. Like that's the thing, man. You guaranteed six of them, six Europa League contests. Well, of course, granted, with some of the things that we'll actually chat about here in a second, man. But I know I haven't got to ask or hear your opinion on things, but for you, what's your like ideal Europa away match?
Oof. Do you know what's funny, right? I've been having this conversation at work for the longest of time. I'm like, I'm going Azerbaijan, I'm going Sweden, I'm going goddamn France, Paris. I don't know, man. Just to be there's enough, man. I'll take Glasgow right about now, bro.
Hey, man.
Do you know what, right? I'd like one where I could double down and maybe like have a little holiday or something, maybe. Like, you know what I mean? Like a nice little trip to maybe a Barcelona or something, like an Espanyol game or something. That'd be nice.
There you go.
I'd take Lyon, in France. I know, ironically, due to all the political stuff going on, it might not be the case, but I'd take a nice little weekend in France. Start off from the Thursday, just extend it, have the whole 3-4 days, and just chill, man. Get me? Eat
Maybe
good,
like
live good, come back nice.
Olympiacos or Panathinaikos, something like that.
Nah.
No Greece? No Greece?
I've been Greece. I've done that. Been there, done that. I'm trying to do something a bit different.
Gotcha. Okay. Right on. I mean, I'm with you, man. Wherever the road takes us is going to be an unbelievable experience for sure. So, I mean, the matter of where you play is only one thing, but I guess ensuring that we get it is another thing, and that kind of leads us into the first topic of discussion. As many of you probably heard via whatever outlets that you use for your news, apparently Nottingham Forest have written to UEFA with their concerns about us being Crystal Palace participating in Europa League when they could be in breach of multi-club ownership rules. So basically, it sounds like Nottingham is out here basically trying to dry snitch on us, man. That's what it sounds like. But like, what is it? How does it appear to you?
Oh, where do I start? Do you know what, right? From the minute it's brother come on the pitch and started blasting his manager in front of people, in front of the cameras, I knew there was something a little bit off about him. But the fact that, I'm not going to be bitter and start blaming their club and their fan. No, I'm not going to be bitter and start blaming their fans for it, because the very small handful of Forest fans I've ever met are pretty straightforward and chill with me. So I've never had a problem with them. So I have no beef with them whatsoever. However, what are they doing, bro? Like, pot calling the kettle black on this one. Their owner has had to like subsidize and liquidate shares here, there, and everywhere to move money from here, and he's already got a multi-club ownership as well. Did he not hire Edu to go and do a madness up at bloody Olympiacos so he could all pattern up Forest as well? And if Forest had qualified for the Champions League, he'd be in the same boat as well. He's just bitter. He's just nasty and bitter. It's like he's gambled financially with a lot of things, thinking that Forest were going to cash in on the Champions League, and they've naturally bottled it. And it's like
Hmm.
they're just trying to lash out on well, respectfully, Little Palace. Listen, bro, keep your nose out of it. Like, it's not your business. Like, and nobody's out here doing no funny business like you lot are. There are a lot of Premier League clubs that have multi-club ownership. Let's not pretend Man City, you know, Chelsea, bloody all of them. So
Man United was in at the same time as OGC Nice when they were owned bought by Ineos.
exactly, and let's be honest here. Texar, yes, he has a certain percentage of ownership, but he doesn't have a certain percentage of say so or dictating how the club runs on an everyday basis. You got to then look at it in the sense of I I'm sorry, man. If you're gonna kick us out, kick out everyone because there's loads and loads of other football clubs out there that have been doing it way before us. Where it's like all of a sudden, little Crystal Palace they want to try and make a little example out of, and me for one, I'm not on it. Like I'm not trying to have that. Um, Granted, I'm just one person, and I can't run up on UEFA or pick up the phone call and start making political calls. But it's not right, man. The fact that we've been having this conversation, the fact that it's even a thing, is kind of ridiculous to me. I do think the media's blown it out of proportion a little bit as well. Naturally tried to scaremonger us. I'll be honest, I fell for that pretty quickly. In terms of what I was hearing. And the thing is, it really messes up our plans for the summer because we can't get anything done early because we don't even know if we're gonna have that extra pot of money from Europa League football.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know if we can invest in the structure of the club. We don't know what kind of players we can keep, sign, sell, because we don't know what kind of situation we're going to be in come the next 3-4 weeks. This is the time where we need to be sitting down and planning, making bids, making repairs, building certain things, making things happen, and you got UEFA trying to play around with us and toy around with us, sort of dangling it like a carrot in front of us. I'm not happy, but there's not really anything else we can do to speed up the process. So I'm just going to let it play out and hope that UEFA use their common sense and don't play games with us because we're not here to be toyed with.
Exactly. And Mitch, your comment here, it makes sense why Brighton hasn't said anything because they literally just participated, 2 years ago, I want to say, in a European competition with another team that was owned by their owner. And that was Union Saint Gillois, which is a Belgian club that Tony Bloom owns. He owns both Brighton and them, and they both participated in the same competition. So it makes sense why Brighton hasn't come forward and said anything because they've already done it. You know what I mean? I think the biggest difference might be some of the stuff that's talked about putting shares in a trust, parts of the ownership in a trust at certain points. But other than that, I'm not sure that anything else is any different as far as ownership is concerned. And I think Tony Bloom owns majority of both clubs too when they were in it. So it's one of those things. I'm hoping that this is just a formality and you know everything gets situated as it should and we can move forward because I feel like UEFA would be like you playing a dangerous game if you deny us this chance. You know what I mean? Like not only are you setting a very tough precedent that you hadn't set before with multiple opportunities to prior,
I think
but then you
it just can't be one set of rules for one set of teams and then another set.
exactly
Or
like you're playing with fire if you
you
make that ruling.
it can't be. And the thing is, we don't do what those big clubs do. We don't send our players on loan to those sort of clubs. We don't share staff members. We don't share training rituals. We don't have some kind of secret tournament about. There is no realistic link between us. And I've got to put my hat off to Steve Parish. He ensured that that wasn't the case anyway. He rejected that model. So what I'm really hoping is it's just a thing where they're sitting there and they've just gone, you know what, it's just a formality. We need to go through a few of these things, understand how the workaround is, and then maybe just at the end of the month go, you know what, boom, there's no issue here. That's what I'm just really hoping it is, and everyone's just blown out of proportion. But the fact that we're even having discussion kind of throws me off. So I'm just hoping everyone comes to their common sense at the end of it, and then we know where we stand.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. You just want us to hopefully get through it and come out on the other side of it with a European berth that we've definitely earned. I've seen, different articles and things that talked about what's going on, and one in particular talked about, I guess, the idea of quote unquote deserving it, and how Palace went through an entire tournament, beat multiple European caliber teams. Of course, did not lose, won their trophy, won their berth, comparatively to, in this situation, Lyon, who ended up getting a berth simply because of goal difference and lack of performance from other clubs, not necessarily, you know, in the league placement, of course. League placement, of course, by default in other ways. So I think it would kill uh, a fan base to take something like this away that has been such a hard earned thing. You know.
Agreed, 100% agreed. Like, we're not sitting in Europe because we cheated. We're sitting in Europe
Yep.
because we earned it. We won the FA Cup.
Yep.
What are we talking about here? There's no dodgy funds. There's no dodgy, you got full transparency. So let's just get on with it, bro. Let us build. It's like they're petrified of letting anyone else into their little exclusive club. So
Yeah.
something's going to have to give, man. And I'm just hoping it's the right answer.
Yeah. And it's like, one team earned some hardware. They won something to get the berth. The other one didn't. And this isn't me, like, I'm not trying to downplay or discredit Lyon for what they've done to receive their bid, because ultimately they did enough to receive what was being given to them. But I'm speaking more towards all that our club has done in order to receive it. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder how far back you can go and look at every single team that's won the FA Cup or the equivalent to this in other countries and haven't received their eventual European berth after winning something like that. Like, I would like to know what that looks like, because I feel like there will probably be next to none that haven't got that penultimate berth into Europe after winning such a thing. You know what I mean?
Agreed, 100% agreed. It's a joke.
So
Can't
let
be
me
one
ask you
reason
this.
for them.
So,
It can't.
so let me ask you this, because I also saw comments on this view, and tell me what you think about this. We did win the FA Cup, and we know the significance of doing so. That's hardware that's forever going to be something that was won by our club. Is the winning of the FA, if we don't get the European berth, is then the winning of the FA Cup enough, Sylv? Is it a good enough accomplishment to be able to sit on and be proud of in the event that we end up not somehow getting Europe? Is that enough?
Yes, because it's still the first trophy in our history.
Yep.
It's still a day that I will never forget. It's still, I could go deep, but look at somebody like Nick or Patrick or Stan or one of them guys. What would they do to have that day back? Would they give that day up for anything? Waiting your whole life and supporting a football club and being stuck in, mediocrity to finally have your day out in the sun. I was there. It was like the emotion and the pride of what we went through on that day. Nothing will ever take that away from us, And it was said at the time that, you've got to celebrate the moment, and at the end of the day, that FA Cup history will still say in 2025, Crystal Palace won it. So you can't take anything away from that. That will always have its own history and in its own right. I think the whole Europa League situation is just becoming, it will just leave a bit of a bitter taste to it. But at the end of the day, 100 years from now or 50 years from now, or my great grandkids, all they're going to know is, well, Crystal Palace's first FA Cup or the first major trophy was in 2025.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all I can really say on that one. I don't think that tarnishes. I don't even look at those as the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, winning the FA Cup has qualified us for Europe, but at the end of the day, winning the FA Cup in its own right is a timeless moment for us. And I don't think anything changes that. Or the best thing is nobody can take that away from us, no matter what.
Yeah, and that day is now folklore in the history of our club. It's folklore. Like it is forever something that people will always talk about throughout the history of time. It's
Mm.
one of those things, and I don't think in that same uh, thought process that people are going to think back on that and think about the fact that that was the first trophy we ever won in the history of Crystal Palace, but we didn't get Europe. I don't think that's going to be a part of the story. I don't think that's going to be a part of the talking point. So for that reason, it feels like even if through some history making decision by UEFA, there has been so much accomplished to this point that I don't think it overshadows anything.
Nah, because bear in mind, this all plays out into what happens going into next season. So I I think this is just one of them things where you kind of have that euphoric moment in history, and then we've turned around and we're kind of looking at going into this season and what we can potentially bounce on and achieve, and what
Mm-hmm.
is the next level. But these European clubs and these European air quote super teams for X amount of years, and I include FIFA and UEFA in that, have looked at many different ways to gatekeep the finances and the funds within themselves. I mean, look at this Club Cup World Cup thing that they've generated for the summer. They're struggling
Mm-hmm.
to sell tickets for it. Football fans are not dumb, bro. Like, yes, football fans can be many things, but we're not dumb. Like in the
And I can
masses.
tell you, on that note, especially just be because the Club World Cup is happening here in America. The reason why it's not selling tickets is because they made the ticket prices astronomical, crazy expensive. Like you sitting at the top of these venues and you're paying almost $200 for one ticket.
Really?
You know what I'm saying? Like what would be equated to probably 180 pounds for you all for one ticket at the top of the stadium. You know what I mean? So they were forced to slash prices because they brought in American capitalism into the equation, and
Uh,
world football is not going to prescribe to American capitalism for the same reason why a league like MLS will never be or go as high as it could because of American greed and capitalism. It'll never happen. You know what I mean? So I think that's one of the reasons why they're struggling with that. Because like you said, real football fans aren't going to prescribe to, you know, paying those types of prices and being held hostage for those type of things. It's just not going to happen.
it just goes to show that
So,
there is a large greed element in football, and there's just
mhm.
well, not that there's anything you do about it, but if you're smart about it and you mobilize correctly, then you can kind of shun them. But you have to be clever because where you ever come in, or you ever take the mick, if you will, is as soon as you throw the big names into the element and you start throwing the big clubs into the element, that's what will draw fans in, and that's what will kind of turn heads. But football fans are not stupid, man. They'll just get wiser and wiser as time goes on, and they'll have to, you know, use their common sense at one point.
And not to mention the fact that there was a time when if you won the FA Cup, you just won the FA Cup, and there was no Europe to be had. You know what I'm saying? Like keep it a buck. Like you just move on to the next season and compete for it again. There wasn't a European berth that was attached to winning the FA Cup at one point in time. So
Mm.
it can almost be seen as, you know, a ball of winning said FA Cup, which is awesome. But I mean, Warren actually had a really good comment understand
He drives a point.
Or competing at that level allows you to attract certain calibers of players that you probably wouldn't have been able to in the past.
Yeah, that's inevitable. It will be one of them things where it's like the kind of trick, because we know we might potentially be talking about a couple transfers today, but when you look at the kind of names and numbers and players you're looking at, these are numbers that Palace don't really toy around with traditionally. So paying 45 million or 35 million euros for one sort of player is not something we do very often, but we can potentially start looking at that market as well. And the appeal to the player side of things, maybe going to us versus going to said next club, you've got the appeal of European football that kicks in with that as well. And Glasner himself, he's a very ambitious manager, and we're fully aware of that. And I think he deserves to be in a position where he can build a team that is he's making full creation. So we have to be able to be in a position to be able to enforce that.
Exactly. And you think about it, man, like for instance, I think there was a connection in the window to Ousmane Diomande from Sporting CP. And the number being floated around is circa like 40 million pounds. And it's like that will be our club record signing right there. You know what I mean? And that says a lot. That says a lot for what we possibly could be ascending to as a club. You know what I mean?
Once upon a time, that was a whole transfer budget. So
literally, quite literally.
Times have changed, or times could potentially be changing.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's a great point there from Warren. Don't forget, guys, if you have any questions that you want to ask and have talked about, make sure you put a Q before your question, just so that we're able to see it here. For anybody that's tuning in that hasn't done so already, please make sure you like. Please continue to comment. We really appreciate it. And for those of you that haven't subscribed or maybe thinking about it or have tuned in multiple times to the content, please make sure you subscribe. We really do appreciate it. So it's one of those things, man, that I'm hoping time will tell. And this is more of a formality than anything else. And this is just media trying to be able to put out information, put out stories and things. But moving on to the second piece of Palace news today. So apparently, Crystal Palace are reportedly interested in Osasuna's center back Enzo Boyomo. I think that's how you pronounce that. Crystal Palace made an inquiry about the Cameroonian international, whose contract with Osasuna is set to expire in 2029. And that was reported by Africa Foot. So Boyomo, young center back for Osasuna. I haven't watched anything on him, but I do know he's 23 years old. He's actually on the shorter end. He's only 5'11", apparently. So that's kind of short. If that's correct, that's kind of short.
Yeah, that is short, to be fair. I don't really get sucked into that, to be fair, because you do get some of the greatest defenders in history have not exactly been 6'8". So
right,
I'm not going to particularly get sucked into that. The thing I'm more concerned about, not in a horrible way, but he plays for Osasuna.
Which is
was very impressive. But for me, it's got to be price. I don't want us to start shopping in Gucci because all of a sudden we got Gucci money, if that makes sense.
Because you're going to have Gucci problems eventually.
I don't want to be like, oh, well, we're in Europa League now. All of a sudden we need to buy the best. I'm still a fan of being able to pick up one or two bargains. And I'm also a fan of still being able to go to the championship and be able to pick up players that are adaptable to our system. However, if the manager wants him, I will stick with that same policy that I believe that I'll back wherever the manager wants. As far as I'm concerned, if the manager's happy with him, I'll be very keen to get him on board as well. And it also falls down to the price as well. But you'd hope that this is the issue we've got with this whole UEFA bracket cloud sort of sitting over us. We don't know what kind of squad we're building for next season, and I think that's partly frustrating me as well, because one or two clubs have already got players through the door, but then we could be potentially behind a month behind everyone else because we don't know what kind of deals we're offering. And then by the time that we've got the clarity, will the players and the targets that we've gone for already gone? Going back to this player, I'm just hoping it's not a signal or intent in the sense that maybe Mark might be leaving. But at the same time, it's a bit weird because at one point last season, I think I kind of came to the acceptance that he was going to go. But at the same time, I'm thinking now that we've got the FA Cup and the Europe potential coming around the corner, does that sort of sway him staying?
That was my hope. I mean, I would think that like making Europe would be a big thing to help him say is what I would hope, just because of because then it's the idea of, well, what more am I getting by going elsewhere? You know what I mean? We're willing to pay you more. Cool. Here's a new deal. We'll pay you more. It's like, well, I want to go over here because I can get European football. Well, we got European football. So what more do you need? You know, or is it just the fact that you just want to play for a bigger club? Like, if that's just the reason, you know what I'm saying? And I would hope, like the way I see Mark Gahey, I would hope that that's not the kind of guy he is. He doesn't seem like he could be that
I don't
type.
get that vibe from him at all. I think
I don't get that vibe from him.
Some common sense, and he always progresses. And so far, it looks like he's made all the right moves towards his career. So hopefully, common sense will prevail. But at the same time, we do have to build a squad for next season, whether it be in Europe or maybe not. We do have to start building our team towards next season and start thinking about, we need to be able to back the manager. And I feel like if we do not show this manager ambition, we're going to regret it.
Yep. Real quick, I have a message from D here that wants me to shout out Carefree Lewis for the raid on the stream. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure, but shout out to you, Carefree Lewis,
from Chelsea Fan TV.
So appreciate it.
He's been doing his thing for a very long time, so that is appreciated.
Yeah, but before we get off here, guys, just want to give this quick update. Looks like both Eze and Dean Henderson are starting for England in the match today against Senegal, which will be kicking off in like the next 10 minutes or so here. And then El Hadji Malik Diouf is starting for Senegal along with Ismail Assar. So some interesting viewing that us Palace fans can do in particular with this match for sure here, man. But before we hop off here, AJ, you got anything else you want to say, man? Bring up, talk about?
Nah, man. I'm in a good place. I'm pretty chill. I'm making the most of this sort of pre-boredom that's kicking in, to be fair. It's actually, I'll be honest, towards the end of the season, I think mentally I was so gassed out between the Wembley trips and all the other stuff going on. It's a bit of a shame we've got a little bit of uncertainty. That's kind of made it a little bit awkward. But you know what? I'm able to walk into work and any man from another team can't chat to man now. I can talk to these guys. Nobody can talk to man about Palace now. Or Palace
they used to say it's levels, and when we stepped up, we came up the steps a little bit.
So I'm comfortable now. And you know what? I'm not particularly a big fan of international football. I'll watch it when on certain occasions, but for me, I'm not really fast. It could be 18, 16. I couldn't care less. So yeah, good luck to the boys. Hopefully the players come out unscathed, go and get a holiday, come back ready for preseason, and we're going to be good to go. And then hopefully get some more Palace news up and running and start building some stuff, man.
Big facts. I think a lot is coming down the pipeline here, both incoming and outgoing stuff, just because of the level that we're getting to. You know what I'm saying? Like what they say, more money, more problems sometimes.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So we'll definitely be seeing, I think, a lot of articles, conjecture, rumors that go a lot of different ways. So we'll see, though. Well, appreciate everybody for tuning in, man. As always, make sure you please like, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate all the support you all give for the channel here. I think we got as high as like 250 live viewers just on this one. Speaking with D, I think our next big goal that we're gonna be looking for is trying to get the 10K with the subscribers. So keep tuning in, keep giving everything, and we'll be back with more news and information for you guys. All right. As always, up the power.